Hello, everybody, and welcome to the UFFS podcast number 15. You're with Fish and Baits, and we're going to bring an exciting feel to this program here today. We've got what is it? What is it to really hockey, beer, music? I think it all goes hand in hand. We've got national anthems that happen, of course, before every hockey game. And we've got some special guests here today, Fish. Pretty excited. We're going to bring a brand new flavor to this program. Fish, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm excited too. It's cool to bring on guests, and certainly guests that are new to the platform, but just guests that have a big voice in the country music industry coming up in Canada. And excited to have them on the show and talk some history and talk some present what's next for them as well. So it's going to be an exciting show for sure.
So we've got Prairie States, the Prairie States with us here, and I almost said what I wasn't supposed to say, Nash, and I apologize in advance for that, and it's stuck in my head. So I want to introduce. We have Matt, we have Jeff, and we have Nash from the Prairie States with us. Welcome, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks. It's great.
Yeah, this is going to be really exciting. So. Up and comers or already, I think, somewhat well established on the music scene. And like I said at the beginning of the program, here's how we're going to start. I think that there's nothing better than kicking off the ultimate franchise hockey league with the national anthem. And I want to thank Matt so much for recording this video. So we're going to kick off our league for the 2021 season with the national anthem, and I'm going to share my screen, and I am going to play the video, and I am going to put my hand on my chest as we do it. Okay, so here we go.
Oilers, go!
Absolutely. Go! Oh yeah, there's the bear. I'm saying go Boston, and I look like I'm kind of outnumbered here today. But hey, way to go! That was awesome, Matt.
Thank you.
And I think I just have to get back to my Zoom, and here we go. So Matt, is that the first time you've ever sang the national anthem at, I'm going to call this a virtual sporting event, but have you actually done that in the past?
Not much national anthems. I remember once back in my hometown, the American women's hockey, they came and played against the Canadian hockey team, and I ended up singing the American anthem with my brother for the beginning.
Oh, cool. So your brother, so singing is obviously a family deal for you.
Yeah. There's some artistic people in my family for sure.
Cool. So the Prairie States, obviously, so we've got three members of a 5-piece band. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay. And you guys, pretty exciting. And I want to congratulate you guys, first of all. So I'm holding it right here. Got some notes written on it, but I think you can see it. But you guys are up for a slew of nominations. I almost had to put in a really long piece of paper to print these things off. So up for 6 nominations at the upcoming Alberta Country Music Awards. Congratulations, guys. That's pretty exciting.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
No strangers to the Alberta Country Music Awards. You guys have taken home some of this hardware in the past.
Yeah, we won two awards last year, and in our first year as a band, we won 2 that year as well. So pretty excited. Hopefully the streak keeps going.
Yeah, I would think so. Would you guys be one of the most nominated bands, do you think, for the upcoming awards? 6 awards is a lot.
Yeah, I mean it's yeah, we're a little bit flabbergasted about it, but yeah, us and another band out of Alberta, they're Nice Horse, awesome band. Also got 6 nominations too. They've had a killer year. Got in the top 40, which is very tough for emerging acts. And so yeah, they both of us have kind of had we got nominated a bunch. So it's nice. I don't know. It's weird to talk about it. It's kind of.
Yeah, it always is hard to try and you don't want to get too high on yourself, I guess, right? But you want to appreciate the accreditation. But you guys have obviously worked hard. You've had 5 radio releases. They've all cracked the top 100 in Canada. You kicked off and I'm going to say the 2019 Big Valley Jamboree, which was the last one that actually took place. You shared the stage with some big names there, and this is I don't know, I'm a beer guy. I like my summertime beer sitting around the campfire type of thing, but I love the fact that you guys, and I think this takes innovation and marketing intel, but you launched your own beer brand, which ties in with the video and the song of the same name called Low Life, I believe, right? Tell me about that.
Yeah, it was right at the start of the pandemic. We had big plans to shoot this video, and everything kind of came to a screeching halt. So a good buddy of ours, Jay Sparrow, who's also directed some of our videos and produced our first record, just happens to be a co-owner of a brewery in Edmonton called Sea Change. And to launch the single, we partnered with them, and they did a limited run of Low Life Lager. And so what we did, since we couldn't shoot a music video anymore, we took a whole bunch of that beer, and we drove around and dropped it off for all the people on the front lines, like first responders and teachers and doctors and nurses, and had everyone just do a virtual toast to each other, and it's kind of Nash put the video together, stitched all those videos together, and that became our music video for the beer. So it was a great partnership, and those are great guys, and great beer.
What's funny was like we were gonna do this big advertising push on it to help gain awareness of the video and get it in front of different eyes and people who aren't necessarily fans yet. And we got denied from all the social media platforms and Google, saying that it was a beer commercial, and they wouldn't allow it to be. We couldn't promote it. So yeah, there it is. But we'll promote it here.
I had no idea that was a thing.
Yeah, it got shut down. They said no. They even said no to a bunch of like the small little like teaser ads for the cover art because it had a beer can on it. So yeah, it's funny.
I love the video, guys. It's one of those good time, feel good type of videos. And of course, with all the restrictions going on, it brought back happy memories of being able to do all that stuff. And it looked like a lot of different friends. And I guess what now I understand, it was frontline workers cheering with the beer in their hand. And it looked like a good time to me. So, and one interesting thing I picked up for is you had some technology in there called Scan the Can.
Oh yeah, there was like it's not like very popular, but Spotify has got these like cool QR codes that you can just they generates on their webpage and stuff, and so we got it on the can, and then we ended up giving a flat of the beer away to one of the fans who to enter you had to scan the can and then send in a video of you scanning the can, and yeah, we ended up giving a flat away. But yeah, it's just another cool way that people who are buying the beer who weren't necessarily fans of the band, who just love Sea Change beer because it's so good. Just it was just one other thing to try and get some more ears on them tunes. So
I can't honestly tell you if it's good or not because I didn't see a flat show up on my doorstep. I'm hoping for that soon. But I tell you, we do have a lot of UFFS meetings. We have a lot of UFFS participants. I'm sure they would all enjoy a flat showing up on their doorstep. It would be a lot of fun. What do you think,
Well,
Fish?
It's all gone, man.
It was a limited
all-
run. Yeah, but is there any Striker left? There's some Striker? There's some metal beer. Maybe there's some Striker we can send your way.
So let's talk about the Prairie States. Where does the name come from? How'd you come up with the Prairie States?
That's another Jay Sparrow connection. The same guy that produced the videos and made the beer. He found a Walt Whitman poem, and it's from that poem. So we thought it was kind of fitting because the poem is about, the prairies, but also bringing in the new modern cities. And thought it was kind of cool because that's kind of what we hope to do, is take a modern sound and mix it with country music. And we thought, and it's a great name. So we were like, yeah, sold.
I like it. And how did the five of you get together? How did you guys meet?
I first met Jeff. We were songwriting, doing some rock and roll, rock alternative stuff, trying to just, use the brain a little bit, use some just try to get into it a little bit. And then we decided to start a cover band. So we met the drummer and Doc, the other guitarist. And then we had these songs and we ended up getting a grant, some money. So we're like, okay, what are we going to do? We should probably record an album. So we got Mike to play bass, and we decided to make an album and start a band.
I guess that's kind of usually how it comes together, and then it's the magic of finding a fit. And I think that's in reality. If I read a lot of biographies on mostly famous rock bands, and it's funny when you get the right people together. It's almost like it's fate in a way. Would you guys say the same thing?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, you also see some of our favorite bands were the most dysfunctional groups of all time, and I wouldn't want to be in that no matter what the success. Like, I don't know. It always comes up because I'm not a big Eagles fan, but a lot of our friends are, and it really hammered home after watching the Eagles documentary too for me, because it all starts fine, and it's all good, and then it just turns into this whole legal speak. Everybody hates each other, and it doesn't seem fun at all. So it's almost like these it may have been fate that they all met and made great music, but I don't know. Like, Doc said it best when we were doing an interview, and he's just like, this band's all about making great music with the people you like being around, and so far so good. So I think if that's the fate, is that we get to make great music with people we like being around, then I think that's cool. So
I love it. Well put. Fish, you were working hard, as you do every single day, on UFHL, UFFS stuff, and you said you had the Prairie States cranked. What were some of your favorite songs that you were listening to today that got you in the mood for hockey, for fantasy?
Yeah, I think the one that resonates the most with me is Every Little Town, because I am a small town prairie guy. So far, just listening to the interview, obviously, congratulations, Matt, if that's your first time singing the anthem. I think Brett Kissel has some competition when the Oilers need an anthem singer. And obviously, we know George Canyon does the anthem in Calgary. So there's a lot of country music anthem singers tie over. So great job on the anthem. And for me, the mention of Big Valley Jamboree brings me home too, because I went to BVJ every year, I think from 1999 to 2008, and had VIP passes and media passes, and had a big role there when I was in Lloydminster at the time, in Pinoka. And so I got to know the BVJ scene pretty good too. So that's great that you guys have been on that stage. As you know, a lot of big acts have come through BVJ. But for me, listening to the music, I picked up a little bit of, right off the start with Every Little Town, I had a little bit of Eric Church in mind, and then it sort of was a bit of Dallas Smith too. Like, it kind of, Eric Church, Dallas Smith, the lyrics kind of brought those two out for me. And Dallas Smith, obviously a guy who was a rock and roll band, alternative rock. Default started out my first year in college in Lethbridge. Default played our Welcome Back Bash, and then I got to know Dallas Smith a bit there, and know him a little bit over the years. And so that was kind of a cool tie-in that reminded me a bit of Dallas Smith and his rise in Canadian country music after he did the crossover, as well as, like I said, the sound, just a little bit of Eric Church in there too, which is a guy I really like listening to. So great job on the music, guys. And Every Little Town hits home, being a small town guy. And I like the line where it says, dreamers like me, never coming back, but never leaving. And that was kind of a cool line too, because I know that is true for a lot of small town kids in high school. They can't wait to get out of their small town, and then they end up taking over the family farm or working in the oil patch and never leaving. So, but the whole song, Every Little Town, really hit home.
That's awesome. Thanks, man. And we appreciate the comparisons. I mean, I know Dallas is a huge Vancouver Canucks fan, which is too bad, but that's all good.
Actually, we have Chad Brownlee here in Kelowna too. That's where I live now. So Chad Brownlee, another former Canucks draft pick, Canucks prospect, crossed over into country music, and I've seen him live many times. He's another rising star in the Canadian country music scene, and certainly Brett Kissel. So yeah, it's cool to see how many bands in Canada are certainly making a name for themselves. And from what I've heard, the Prairie States are well on their way as well. And when I hear the Prairie States, the song that came to mind was Flyover States by Jason Aldean. That was a cool song, and just the Prairie States, listening to Flyover States, sort of, for some reason, that stuck in my head too. But I really enjoy the music, and I think you guys are on the rise.
Thanks, man. Yeah, that's a great tune, that Aldean song. I like that one.
So I've watched Every Little Town. I would emulate what Fish says here. Of course, I myself come from a very, very small town in Saskatchewan, and I think there was more dogs than people in the town that I grew up in. So it totally related to me, and I love the tune, guys. I love the video. So I would say very much a small town feel to the video. Jeff, I think there's some background that goes maybe along with you. I could tell by the video. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, we were looking to pick a setting. Again, Jay, we keep coming back to him, but he's a big part of our band, and he said, well, let's, this has to be shot in a little town. And what connections do we have? And my grandfather owned the theater in Bashaw from, I think it was the mid 40s to early 60s. And just Googled it, and lo and behold, the town had taken over the theater and made it into a performance venue. And so I thought, well, wow, like, how more perfect could it get? So we went there and found Cindy and Sean Oram, our two residents there, and they hooked us up with all the people in town, and we spent the day there shooting, and my parents came down and were in the video. So at the very end of the video, you see my dad sweeping the floor, and that's what his job was, that same floor back when he was a boy, sweeping up popcorn. So it was great. The video resonates with people, I think, because it's real. And it's nominated for Video of the Year this year for the Country Music Awards. So.
Yeah, I think Every Little Town must resonate with a lot of people. It's, as you say, Jeff, nominated for Single of the Year, Songwriters of the Year. You guys are nominated for that as well, to do with Every Little Town. Video of the Year, as you say. And it also got picked up on country music television as well. So it's done well for you guys.
Yeah, in both CMT in the US and now down in Australia.
Wow.
Great. Yeah.
So if we can get these restrictions taken care of here, maybe a tour across Australia is on the books.
Yes, please. I mean, it's always great because it's the idea of touring during their summer festival season is during our winter. So exactly. And it feels like, from what I've heard, they're kind of through a bunch of the weeds in this COVID thing right now. So they're starting to get back to normal, which is, the quicker we can get back to live music, it means everything's calmed down and we can all get back to normal life. So that'd be great.
Awesome. Well, count me in, guys, because I'm really good at plugging things in. So, I'm sure I could probably, just for a hotel room and meals, I'm sure I could do something for you guys and tour Australia. That would be a dream. Tell me, let's talk a little bit about the sound. The first thing anybody probably tries to do, and I guess you guys would probably see this time and time again, is when somebody's new, they try to label you. they sound like this, they sound like that. And of course, when anybody has any amount of success, whether it's, Garth Brooks back in the day or whoever it is, then you get kind of a bunch of copycats. But I have trouble labeling you guys. And I've read some say mixing the cadence and rhythms of 60s soul and 70s rock. I can certainly see that, but a little bit of Aerosmith with the horns, not that you sound like Aerosmith, but the horn section coming into it. I love it, guys. So what do you get in terms of comparisons, or how would you guys label yourselves, or do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Nash, you came up with a good term for our sound.
Did I? I talk a lot. I talk a lot of trash.
Arena country is what.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah. I think what people when they compare us to certain things, they hear, the Eric Church thing has come up in the past, and a little bit of Rascal Flatts, or I mean, we do have a lot of rock influences too. But I think at the end of the day, we just want to we're always trying to make songs that are going to sound great, really loud, and it's and then I think something that's gonna, I always see this, our songs fit with big lights and a big stage, it just all makes sense. And I think that's just kind of how we go. And every little town has just got that, it's just got that feeling in it where it's picks you up and it starts to get you soaring, and it's builds until this crescendo at the end. And then the next single that's coming out at the end of the month it's kind of like that with a little bit more steroids in it too. That's what we're going for. We're going for big, over the top, and with great stories underneath it. So
yeah, another Canadian music act that does that is Tim Hicks. He's got a lot of anthem songs that really ramp up like that, and that maybe is another name that came to mind with Every Little Town. Like I said, that real kind of arena country or anthem, like that can be people's anthem, their back road song or whatever. It's cool. I like the way the songs ramp up. And like I said, working today, you're doing work, but you're getting into the song, and you can really, it hits home. And that song, and like I said, that anthem type music that can be played loud, that's love to hear that.
So I love the, personally myself, I listen to Tongue Tied over and over, and I love the horn section in there. The effect the backup singers bring into it as well. And Matt, and sorry, it's taken me so long to say this, but Matt, you have an incredible voice here. You have an amazing range, and just the power that you can bring into these songs, I think, is pretty explosive as well. So I got to think that Tongue Tied must be, is that one of your favorites? Or please tell us about what your favorite songs are to perform.
I'm the type of person that kind of gets a little bored of things after I do them for a little while, or after I sing them for a little while. So a lot of the newer stuff that we're working on now, because we're doing demos right now. So we're songwriting a lot right now, and I have been enjoying those because they're a little newer. But if I had to pick a song, I would say Old Love.
Ooh, okay.
That one from the first album. Of course, we keep bringing him up. Jay Sparrow, he wrote that song, and he allowed us to record it and perform it and everything. So the songwriting itself and the meaning of the song, I think, is what I like about it. And it's just kind of that songwriter folk type of song that I really enjoy to play live. So awesome.
Well, it sounds like you guys are, if I read the reviews, different people have made different quotes and different comments, and a lot of it is to do with the live performance. So obviously, one of the things you must love to do is performing live.
Yeah, that's really our forte, I think, that's why this whole COVID thing has really hurt, because we can't even get together to practice right now because of the lockdown in Alberta. So it's, but yeah, that's where we love to do, and that's where we shine, I think, is on stage.
Well, and obviously part of the plan, I think, originally discussed was to have you guys perform live on this podcast, but we can't bring that together due to restrictions. So we're doing it this way. And I appreciate, the efforts in making this happen. I want to go back, Nash, to what you talked about. You mentioned a new single.
Yeah, it's called High That I'm Riding, and comes out on January 27th. Pre-save link is going to be out next Wednesday. Actually, this Wednesday coming up. And we've been sitting on this one for a bit, and we've been really excited to. You got to make sure all of our ducks are in a row for this one, because it's what when people call songs bangers, it's a good one. So this is a banger for us. We're excited, and so it's we wrote this one with our friend Dan Davidson, who's got. I mean, he's an indie powerhouse here in Canadian country music, and kind of making his own rules. And as soon as we first demoed this song, I was like, oh boy, here we go. This is it. This is a tune. This is where we want to be. So we're excited. So we're gonna hopefully shoot a video here in a couple weeks, maybe. I don't know if it's all of it's up in the air. That was supposed to happen a month ago, and that's been obviously delayed. And then but that's the end of the month, and then just unleashed into the world.
So with the I'm excited to hear it. I can't wait. And of course that'll be available, as most of your music is, on Spotify, Apple Music, and I think I've covered off the two big ones anyway, but that's where I find you guys all the time.
Awesome.
I wanted to kind of emulate what UFFS has done as well in the times of COVID and restrictions. Is we've tried different ways to do different things, and we tried computer simulation leagues and different things like that, just to try to do something. So in restrictions, you guys say you're a live band, that's your forte. How do you find the positives? What does a band like the Prairie States do with in the times of COVID? Where do you find the positives?
I think for us, it's been, we've been writing a lot, and you kind of forget what this is all about. Since we're an independent band and we're self-managed and we take care of our, all of our own business and stuff, you can get stuck doing a lot of paperwork and a lot of things that aren't music, things that aren't creating music. So for this to all be forced slowdown, we're in forced slowdown. Kind of on pause. It really let us get back to what we do, and which is writing songs and getting those songs ready to record. And we're very fortunate that we had songs in our back pocket that over 2020 and even into 2021 here now, we were able to, put new material out for the fans. I don't know where we would have been if we didn't have those songs already recorded, because recording right now is difficult. All of it's difficult. So I think the positives is that we were fortunate enough to have great music already in our back pockets, and we've got a bunch more songs ready to go. And as soon as they give us the green light to get out and play in front of everybody, those first few shows are going to be nuts, because it's going to be a lot of pent up energy. You're doing a lot of high kicks off the drum riser. You don't really see that much in country music, but you're going to see a lot of it.
Well, be careful, because we don't want to be putting any of you guys on the injured reserve list. All right. So just take it a little bit easy.
I'll stretch out before. I'll be fine.
That might be a good tie into the sports side of things here. Obviously, you guys are all wearing Oilers uniforms, even Fish is. I'm kind of the guy sticking out like a sore thumb, but I stay true to my teams. That's what I got to tell you. I'm not a bandwagon jumper. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about fantasy sports and the musicians that participate. You guys are you have some kind of a fantasy sports pool going on with different bands.
Yeah, it's all guys based in Alberta, but there's another great local band, a country band called the Dungarees. They're really good friends of ours, and so a bunch of those guys. 3 of us are in it, and then just a smattering of other music industry types, and it's a lot of fun. We've been going now for 4 years, I think, Mike.
Yeah, a lot of trash talk when it's undeserving, and a lot of crotch kicking gifts on Monday morning. But the league's called Even the Losers, and it was named after that Tom Petty song. So Everything's tied into music here.
Absolutely, I get it. So are you guys have you guys taken home the trophy?
No. I came in second one year. I don't know. It took me a while because I came from the fantasy football. Like I've always liked hockey, but I never understood. I never understood the fantasy hockey side of things. Like it didn't really make sense because from the fantasy football world, it's like everything happens on Sunday, one game on Monday. It all makes sense. You spend all week setting your lineups, and it all happens all in a day. And then hockey, couldn't wrap my head around it. Like, oh, what do you mean you're pulling guys in and out? And then once it's set in, it's like, well, you're setting your lines each day. You're kind of setting your line, and then the week is the game. And then once it clicked, I'm like, so yeah, that took me a couple seasons in the fantasy hockey world to actually like, oh, now I see what you're supposed to be doing. Playing a lot of like the weeks where teams have got 4 games in a week, dumping players that only got 2, those sorts of little tricks. And, you don't really do that in fantasy football unless they're on a bye week or something. But even that, it's like, it's mostly injuries that you're trying to patch holes. But
yeah, I could have used Fish during the draft last week, I'm sure.
Usually Jeff's sister drafts for him. So
yeah,
that's always the running joke.
Yeah. She picked my team the first year, and I was doing great until I started managing it, and then things went downhill from there.
I still have no idea what's going on. So
just you got to hit that button, set active lineup or set weekly lineup. It'll just do it for you.
that's exactly what I did. But okay. I think it'd be 2-3 days afterwards. But I didn't.
Well, this is an extended week. The first week you get an extra. Or the first matchup, you get an extra few days out of it. So don't worry, you'll be fine.
Well, do I ever have a deal for you guys? Man, Fish, I don't know what you think, but I think having a franchise in the UFHL called the Prairie States, I think would be fantastic. It has a nice ring to it, don't you think, Fish? And then you'd be happy to help.
Yeah, exactly. There's an expansion franchise up for auction right now through March 1st. So that opportunity's there. But certainly, like you said, Mike, the strategy of fantasy hockey and what you're talking about, the maximizing your games played and looking ahead at the schedule and playing those advantages of who has more games in any given week or that sort of stuff. Certainly maximizing your games played is a big leg up in a head-to-head league, especially where you're playing a different opponent every week. In the Ultimate Fantasy Hockey League, it's total points. So it's every player from start of the season to the end of the season's total points. There are no head-to-head matchups. So you lose that rivalry week to week and the crotch kicking gifts and stuff like that in that sense. But it also takes away a lot of the luck factor because, as you know, there's a lot of bad beats in a head-to-head league week to week. And with the amount of prize money at stake in the Ultimate Fantasy Hockey League coming up on $50,000 American dollars at stake for this year, you don't want to have that luck factor where you could have the second best week out of everybody and lose, right? So this way, it's kind of all your points total from start of the season to the end. And usually minus injuries, barring injuries, the best teams are going to be at the top at the end of the day. So a little bit different setup, but certainly we still award the players of the week, same as the NHL players of the month, that sort of stuff to keep that week to week excitement going and energy going. But yeah, certainly fantasy hockey is a little bit different beast, different animal from fantasy football because it is every day. And there's a little bit more hands-on management to be doing. And certainly a lot of the franchises in the UFHL have hired general managers and assistant general managers, and people look out after their salary cap and stuff, and certainly to set their daily lineups and stuff. Some people have it just as an investment, the franchise, and they're bringing in more people to set lineups and stuff because it is almost like a little part-time job when you take it to that level and that competitive nature and that seriousness of what Darren and the founders are trying to put forth as a sort of a professional fantasy league with the UFHL. So that part of it's cool, but yeah, it's always the best time of the year is draft time, right? Especially coming out of a weird year where you haven't had a whole lot of gameplay, and who knows, especially the players that missed the playoffs last year, you never know how they're going to come out of the gates. So it's kind of cool to see teams like LA and Detroit having a little bit of success early, Minnesota, And then certainly you see a guy like Phil Kessel. A lot of people make jokes about Phil Kessel, thinking he might be a little out of shape coming out of this COVID situation, but he's
always out of shape.
So yeah, we have a lot of characters in our UFFS franchise owners, and there is quite a bit of crotch kicking and everything else that goes on. It's a lot of fun. It's a good fun to watch. But you could probably shoot a couple of videos for 50 grand. Maybe we need you guys involved.
Yeah, I mean, you could shoot one really good one. Yeah. Larry, who are you finding is going way too low in these drafts? Like, how many are you paying attention to, seeing like these players who are slipping far lower than they should be?
Yeah, I think I know you mentioned you got David Pasternak in the 4th round. You're seeing, because it's a short season, only 56 games, and most fantasy leagues have their playoffs during the regular season. So you really only have a 10 or 11 week season. If you're going to have a guy miss the first 4 weeks, there's not because it's such a short season. I think what we're seeing is the guys that are injured or potentially COVID guys are sliding in the draft. So a guy like Pasternak, who, most people did their drafts kind of early in the new year. A lot of people backed off on Pasternak, and then training camp starts, and the next day he's on the ice, and he might only be a week away now. So I think that's going to be a steal in the 4th round. But I think definitely people are paying close attention to injuries and staying away from a lot of players who are starting the season injured, because it is such a compressed schedule. But I think the people who took a chance on some of these injured guys like Pasternak, guys that flew a little under the radar, are going to pay big dividends. Especially, it's going to be almost like a huge trade acquisition, a mid-season ringer when you get Pasternak back. So I think guys like that are going to prove to be steals and certainly be a go-to guy come playoff time.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Well, guys, I see 3 things that are really coming together here for me. So, it starts off with the Prairie States owning a franchise, called the Prairie States. So that's good marketing in itself. Combine that with, obviously hockey, good country music, which you guys already have in your back pocket and sending out to the world. And thank you for that. And beer, low life beer. It all makes sense to me.
Yeah. Does life get better than that? Music, beer, and hockey?
It doesn't. And Matt singing the national anthem to kick off our season every single season. And we got more leagues on the way. So you better keep those pipes warmed up, Matt, because we got a lot of national anthems for you to sing.
Sounds good.
So there's one question that we always kind of like. It's kind of a fun question. I'm going to let Fish handle that one. So Fish, are you ready?
Absolutely. So one thing we do with all of our guests, including our franchise owners that we've had on the podcast, we ask them, if you could have dinner, sit down and have dinner and a conversation with any professional sports figure or sports figure, past, present, alive or not alive, who would it be and why? So who would you want to have dinner with from the sporting world?
Matt, you want to take this one first?
All right. Well, I'm going to have to show my bear. You see it?
Yeah, Ethan Bear. Great. That's awesome.
Where would you go for dinner?
Fat Burger.
That's awesome.
I just watched the Grant Fuhr documentary a couple nights ago, and I was reminiscing about Tikkanen and what a character that guy is. And I think that would be a very entertaining dinner. It's just sit down and let him talk away, if you could understand what he was saying.
That's what I was going to say. If you could understand Essa, Grant's a pretty interesting guy too. Like I said, Making Coco, that documentary was really well done by Adam Levine, a Canadian documentary guy as well, out of Edmonton, I believe he originally is. But yeah, that's a cool documentary. And Essa Tikkanen, one of the real characters, and you nailed it. A lot of people said he talked the most trash in the league, but nobody knew what he was saying. So, and then last but not least, who would your sports figure be that you'd want to sit down and have a conversation with or dinner with?
Man, I think I'd have to go. My favorite player growing up was Paul Coffey, so I just have to default to Paul Coffey. But I mean, Ryan Smith probably would be a fun dinner, But yeah, I'd go Paul Coffey.
Right on. 2 guys I've actually got to meet. Paul Coffey's son played junior A here in West Kelowna just briefly, so he was here a bit. And then Ryan Smith, actually, when he was done playing, played some senior hockey in Spruce Grove there, and his brothers had played senior there for quite some time. Stony Plain, Spruce Grove. So yeah, another guy who, like I said, has done everything he can and accomplished everything he can for Hockey Canada, and a guy who could end up knocking on the door of the Hockey Hall of Fame someday, even though he didn't have the most storied playing career, what he did for Hockey Canada. And I think we're going to see Ryan Smith back in the game sooner than later, whether he's an ambassador type involved with the Oilers or potentially back into some sort of coaching management thing, because I think he's a great hockey mind who can relate to a lot of today's players still, and certainly has that hard work got him to the top, right? So he can teach that and pass that along. So a good role model and a guy who'd be very interesting to sit down and talk with, as would Paul Coffey, certainly.
Yeah. I mean, I can see Ryan Smith coming back as like a representative for having a good dental plan. You know, it's...
Yeah, he could do some endorsements for Edmonton's finest dentists. Yeah.
Oh man, I feel like after saying that, I'm gonna have a nightmare about that, because watching those replays are still like, and then he just picks himself up off the ice after taking that shot to the face. That was just nuts.
Yeah, that was, and that whole 2006 playoff run in Edmonton. I got to be a part of that. I was in Lloydminster. I think I went to 12 of 16 home games throughout the 2006 run when I was in my early 20s on the Blue Mile and everything else. It was a heck of a time. What a time to be alive in Edmonton that spring, because obviously I'm too young to remember the 80s and the 1990 run. So that was sort of, then there was the 90s were basically a decade of darkness, scratch and claw their way into the playoffs, pull off some fun upsets there over Colorado and Dallas in those years, but then have that surprise run in 2006, and to sort of be along for the ride. I had some media passes, but I went to a lot of games as a fan. I spent at least one kid's college tuition, put a kid through college for what I spent on scalped tickets, right?
Oh man,
$1,000 a game basically, and then whatever you're spending on beverages at the game and after the game. It was an expensive couple months there in the spring of 2006, but I wouldn't trade those memories for the world. So, and Ryan Smith was obviously a huge part of that run.
After all those collie brews, you still have memories? Like,
Well,
the heroin beers, yeah.
Yeah.
So obviously hockey, and it's so invigorating to talk to, obviously, a fairly successful country band and knows at least, quite a bit about sports. So this is actually a really, really cool mix, as I knew it would be heading into this podcast. I want to actually kind of get back to the music, and it doesn't have to be music, but I just want to say, what is next for the Prairie States? If you say it's a UFFS franchise, I'm good with that, but you can just tell me what's next.
Well, next for me right away, at least for me, I don't know about you guys, but I'm going to go watch the Tampa Bay New Orleans football game right away. Immediately, but
yeah, for the band, it's going to be that single release on January 27th, and then a little while after that, it's going to be released to country radio. So we're pretty excited about that. And then getting back in the studio, I think we're all excited to like Mike said, we've been writing a lot of songs, so it's going to be great to get some of those down.
Fingers crossed too that, I mean, there is some mild chatter that there might be some sort of distanced shows, happening this summer. So, fingers crossed that that curve can get squashed down low enough so that we can at least have a little bit of distanced social gatherings and get some live music through some speakers in front of some people. But who knows?
We need it. We need it. We all need it. I think what's wrong with an outside concert? I can keep my distance. Well, until after, to a certain extent. After a while, I just forget everything. But that's I want to thank you guys so very much for joining us today. I think this is an interesting mix. Our first musical guests on the podcast, tying in the flavor of sports, I think has been a lot of fun. I can tell you what's next for me, and it's when we're done this podcast, Fish and I talking about the UFHL and UFFS, is listening to Prairie States, drinking some beer. I didn't get any low lifes on my doorstep, so it won't be some of that. But I'm also probably I got to tell you, I promised my wife I would share this with you. I have heard that Just Maybe song so many times because my wife puts that song on and I fall asleep to it almost every night.
It's amazing,
guys. So that one is kind of burned into my brain, but it's a great song. You guys have great music. I, wish you all the best on the upcoming Alberta Country Music Awards, and I'm sure we'll be in touch again.
Sounds good, man. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, it was great.
And the name of the single, guys, on Wednesday, what was the name of the single again?
High That I'm Riding, coming out January 27th.
Perfect. Can't wait to hear it. It sounds like I love the title, and definitely looking forward to hearing it. Like I said, hopefully, being that it is a banger, and hopefully it'll be one of those breakout songs that really launch you guys, because everybody has that breakout song. I mean, I think every little town has that aspect to it too, but hopefully this will be the one that really takes you to the next level. Kind of like I remember Aaron Pritchett's rise, and when Hold My Beer came out, again at Big Valley Jamboree, he kind of debuted at Big Valley, or one of the first times he ever played it. He was opening in the beer, or closing the beer garden on the Thursday night, and I was actually front row, and he threw the beer into the crowd right at the start, and I was the one who caught it. So that was kind of cool. And then got to know Aaron a bit, and actually was supposed to be in the Hold My Beer video in Langley. And somebody pulled seniority on me at my workplace there, so I wasn't. But all my buddies are in the Hold My Beer video for Aaron Pritchett, and that was obviously the single that really shot him to, at that time, Canadian music stardom. So hopefully this is the one, the High That I'm Riding is the one that takes the Prairie States to that next level. I can't wait to hear it on Wednesday.
Well, that song had a second life, I think, because Post Malone did like a TikTok with it or something. Drunk, he's singing it drunk in the back of a limo or something, So that's all we really need is just get Post Malone to sing a drunk version of High That I'm Riding, and then we're good.
Awesome.
So you're the guy holding his beer, and then he went and kissed his girlfriend Fish. I didn't know that about you. Hey, interesting side note. Again, I appreciate you guys. All the best at the upcoming awards, and thank you so much for joining us. And yeah, we'll certainly be in touch.
Thanks, Darren.
Thanks so much for having us.
See you guys.
Bye.
Well, Fish, that was pretty cool. Those guys certainly know us. Nash, anyways, I think they all do. But Nash, he's big into the sports. You can tell. Yeah,
he's in. They obviously have their hockey draft going there in Edmonton, and with the country music scene within Alberta. So I think that's a cool tie-in, and certainly it was good to talk some country music. I'm a little bit away from it a lot of the time out here in BC, but good to get back with some Prairie guys and talk some country music and talk some beer, and certainly the fact that they are all Oilers fans. You love to see that, and it was definitely great to have them on and have a different aspect to the UFF Sports Podcast.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. So let's spend a few minutes. Obviously, the majority of the time today spent with the Prairie States Band, the Prairie States. I promised Nash I wouldn't say the Prairie States Band, and it's in my head. So the Prairie States. Talk about the UFHL, obviously NHL. Everything got underway this week. We have some early, I guess, leaders on the leaderboard in the UFHL, and of course, it looks like the Grizzlies just continue to do everything right. Fish.
Yeah, the reigning regular season champs are starting strong. They're the front runners in the overall standings so far through, I guess, 4 days of action. We got a long way to go because, again, the UFHL, the playoffs aren't as part of the regular season. They're a separate entity. They mirror the NHL playoffs. So we're going the full 56 games as the regular season, and we're into most teams have played 2 games. Some have played 3. Florida's starting today, and Dallas doesn't start until the 22nd this coming week. So there's some teams that haven't played a game yet in the NHL, but certainly the Grizzlies, again, having that Edmonton line with, I guess, Dominic Cahoon being the new member of the line with Leon Draisaitl and Kyler Yamamoto. But the fact the Grizzlies still have Ryan Nugent-Hopkins up there riding shotgun with Connor McDavid, that big game, the rematch with Vancouver where Edmonton had their breakout game, that's what really launched the Grizzlies to the top of the standings. But that's a team that's added a lot of depth at a good contracts throughout the offseason to really, they're a win now team. You look at that roster, they have a lot of players that are right in their prime and going up, where some of the other contending teams are more so they're going to be on the rise in the coming years, and maybe they'll close the gap or overtake the Grizzlies throughout this season because they have a lot of young talent that are just getting their feet wet in the NHL. But the Grizzlies have a lot of talent that are in their prime, and that team's primed for success again, whether it's staying on top in first place or somewhere in the top 5, they're looking strong.
They are the ones to beat. So just rounding out the top 5 so far. I mean, it's very preliminary, but we have the Grizzlies followed by the Titans, Outlaws, Red Army. Look at Luke. He's in there doing better than what he was forecasted to be, but a lot of time yet. And of course, the Yetis rounding out the top 5. I want to talk a little bit about, obviously we did the division realignment in the UFHL, and of course they did division alignment in the NHL. And there's some talk about this North Division. I think we've been seeing some pretty exciting stuff so far. I like it. What do you think? Do you think it's going to be permanent?
The All-Canadian division, I like it a lot. I know Brian Burke spoke about it on Hockey Night in Canada on Saturday, just the amount of travel for specifically Montreal and Ottawa, as well as Vancouver, with the Eastern time zone versus Pacific time zone and the cross-Canada travel. It's once COVID's over, I think that travel part of it is going to be extremely hard on those franchises, and they will push to go back to the more traditional alignment that we've gotten used to in recent years. But personally, I love it. I mean, the rivalries that we're going to see within Canada. We know the Battle of Alberta. We haven't even seen that yet this season, but Edmonton, Vancouver's looking good. You've seen last night on Saturday night, Jacob Markstrom shut out his old team, Vancouver, pitches the shutout for Calgary. So that rivalry is immediate. And you've seen guys like Chris Tanev have a big role in that game, blocking a ton of shots from his former team, Vancouver. So I think that Calgary-Vancouver rivalry is already taken on a life. And then out east, I mean, whether it's Toronto-Montreal or Toronto-Ottawa, both those opening games, Toronto-Montreal was a barn burner, the season opener, and then Toronto-Ottawa splitting that home and home set, or that double header that they played, twin bill between Ottawa and Toronto. We said it in our last podcast that Ottawa wasn't going to be a pushover and they're going to be a hard team to play against. And you've seen that in those first two games against Toronto. Ottawa's come into play, and that division, there's no obvious who's going to make the playoffs. The top 4 out of 8 out of 7 will make the playoffs, and it's anybody's guess who those top 4 are going to be at this point. A lot of people say Toronto and Calgary look strong, and then maybe Edmonton, Vancouver, Winnipeg will be fighting for the other spots. But then you got Montreal, who's one of the surprise teams, but not really, because they loaded up in the offseason. And I still think Montreal might win that division, especially if Carey Price plays the way he did against the Oilers on Saturday in that 5-1 win for Montreal in Edmonton. So I like Montreal there. And again, now I've named off all 7 teams, and we don't have an order coming together. So that division's a lot of fun, and it's going to be a great drama to watch it play out and see those rivalries heat up between now and the middle of May.
I think, for the Leafs fans, in all sympathy to the Leafs fans, they can never seem to do it, but maybe they should just shut the season down right now and they'd remain in first spot. Just a thought. No, actually, I shouldn't even say that. That would jinx it. So no, I take that back.
Yeah, the Leafs, I mean, they got the old boys with Joe Thornton, and actually Jason Spetz is on waivers today. He actually came out and said if another team put in a claim for him, he would retire because he wants to be a Leaf. That's the only place he's interested in playing out the remainder of his career. And certainly Joe Thornton playing on the big line with Matthews and Marner's a cool element in Toronto. And the goaltending controversy is what's already emerging there in Toronto. But I think the Leafs are a strong, deep team. Again, the question marks on defense and a little bit in goal, but they're not going to have any problem scoring, and they're just getting warmed up as far as that goes.
So obviously the UFHL on the trade front and all that kind of stuff, it's a little quieter right now, which is okay, because we're all watching the games and watching our fantasy teams and our players rack up those points or not rack up those points, depending which way it goes. But you know what we're really busy with, and you're busy with in the admin, of course, is getting this brand new league off the ground, the UFAHL. Want to do a great big shout out right now and a welcome to Brent. He's going to be, I'm going to call him the new UFAHL Haunch, the commish, the Haunch. I don't know, assistant Haunch.
He is, yeah. Brent Baldwin, who's a media member in the AHL, very experienced with how the American Hockey League works and the affiliations with the NHL, the rules, everything else. So he was already an assistant general manager with the North Stars in the UFHL, our NHL league. And now he's taken on the role of commissioner in the UFAHL, which mirrors the AHL. And of course, with the pandemic and the restrictions and 3 AHL franchises not opting out of the season and the taxi squads, there's a lot of logistics as to how to get an AHL fantasy league off the ground, especially because there's not a blueprint to follow. Nobody else has really offered an AHL fantasy league, but I think we got the formula in place now to have a successful draft in 2 weeks. On Saturday, January 30th is the target date for the UFAHL draft. We're probably going to draft I know today we're talking about making as many as 26-player draft, 26-man rosters, or as few as 20. But there seems to be some momentum, some interest in going as much as 26-player rosters. So that gives you up to 806 players would be owned as digital assets following the UFAHL draft. Now, a number of them are already owned by UFHL franchises or scouts, but over half those players are currently unowned. They're available, and they will be available in this draft in 2 weeks. So certainly for anybody who has a UFAHL franchise, now is the time to start planning for this draft and getting your draft list together, because you got to know a lot of AHL players if you're going to draft up to 100 or up to 806 players. So, but the cool thing is even if the gameplay is not really there for this first season, and with the restrictions and everything, it might be hard to pull off. It might be more of a trial season, a trial run, sort of just a test phase for the 2021 campaign. But the big thing is that digital asset ownership and the affiliation with the UFHL franchises, UFHL, UFAHL affiliation, and really it's almost like an extra protected list for your UFHL franchise, because you're going to have 26 players that you can promote or quote unquote call up. The UFHL franchise can purchase the players from the UFAHL. So it's just much like the real world. We're mirroring the relationship between the NHL and AHL as far as linking and connecting, intertwining the two leagues. And so your UFAHL general managers are going to work hand in hand with their UFHL GMs as far as the affiliation goes. And we'll see how it works. And like I said, it's never been done before, but it seems really promising. And the big thing is it's going to get that many more players owned and playing on our platform, which is what we want. We want, potentially 100,000 hockey players owned down the road, and we want them all to have a place to play. So if they don't make the NHL or they're still in junior, we want to be able to offer that league and some gameplay and some prize money at those levels to sort of, you can develop your player all the way along until they get to the UFHL, which is our NHL league. And ultimately we're looking at Legends leagues down the road where they can, once they're retired, they can still have value as a collector's item forever on the blockchain. So it's building down and then up as far as that goes with the minor leagues and eventually the Legends leagues. But certainly the UFAHL is our first foray into a new league, and it seems really promising, and everybody's excited to get that draft taken care of in 2 weeks. Everyone's getting their draft lists ready, and it'll be cool to see that come to fruition.
It's going to be a lot of fun. So again, welcome to Brent in being the new commission, the UFAHL. I like new. I think, as you said, this is not being done in the real world. So you would know, Fish, at UFFS, as we like to do new things and try new things. I love the linkage, with the farm system into the UFAHL, just like the AHL is in the NHL in the real world. So I think this is going to be pretty exciting. It's going to bring a brand new dimension. We'll see how it unfolds. It's going to be a lot of fun as we head into the new season here. A lot of new brands coming on too. Of course, we allowed some rebranding in the UFHL. Just before this podcast, I did see the Mystics come down the wire. So a very innovative, different looking brand. I really like it. It's so nice to see that. I think we've got one more coming. I don't know. Can I put the name out? I think Kamikaze is what it's going to be called. We haven't seen the brand, but I think that's coming as well. And of course, the UFAHL, there's a whole lot of brands coming out here I've seen.
Yeah, there's a ton of branding going on, which is keeping the Haunch busy. That's he's overseeing the branding side, and he's getting bombarded with people ready to launch their or submit their logos and their color schemes and their jersey designs for the UFAHL. But certainly we're putting the finishing touches on the UFHL brand, and the Mystics, owned by Sonia Kleiss. It's got the pink, right? That pops right away as the pink in the jersey, the pink in the logo. But when she bought the Vengeance franchise back in November, and she did her introductory article to announce the franchise sale, the first thing Sonia said to myself when we were writing that article was, she's not a vengeful person. She wants a brand that speaks to her and her character and sort of her beliefs and just sort of what she's all about. And as soon as you see the Mystics, the logos, the color scheme, the jerseys, you can tell that does represent Sonia much better and well worth the small fee to rebrand it and really, put something together that she's proud of and that really represents who she is. So congratulations to Sonia on the Mystics brand launch, and certainly Donnie Talk had been the Defenders, originally a member of the Rock Republic ownership group, branched out, bought his own franchise in December, the Defenders. And the Defenders went through a rebrand and came up with a design. And then we determined it was quite similar to the Generals. They were both kind of Canadian military themes. And we just sort of decided that why don't we rebrand the Defenders? And Donnie was all for it. He had a cool idea with Kamikaze. So he's going to get back to work with his graphic designer. And hopefully within the next month, they'll be revealing the logos and color scheme and jerseys for the Kamikaze franchise, which is a unique name, but I think there's a lot of potential there. So I can't wait to see what Donnie and Morgan come up with for the Kamikaze brand.
I love the name. I like the brands coming in. I can't wait to see them in the merchandise store, and of course on merchandise, just like what's behind me, my very own UFFS blanket, and I've got coffee mugs and a gin mug on the way too. So I'll be showing those off hopefully in the very near future. So other things going on behind the scenes. We've talked about this for a long time, and it's a lot of work. You got the website, the platform, landing pages coming along. Larry, what can really be said about working along with Zilliqa? These guys are pros, man. And we've been working hard to get this thing right. But this, what I've seen looks incredible.
Yeah, the back end of the website is basically up and running now, functional. Had a lot of help from the community as far as populating the data. And number of franchise owners joined in and helped with that process, as well as founders. And we got all every player owned by a franchise has now been assigned. And we do have some exciting partnerships to announce here in the coming weeks that'll explain how and why the player profiles look so good. And that partnership is coming out. And like I said, in the coming weeks, hopefully in February, we'll be announcing a big partnership that'll generate a lot of excitement in the hockey world as well as in our UFFS community. But certainly the back end's looking really good. And the Zilliqa team is hard at work on the front end. Cyan and his team are, like you said, first class, world class to work with. And they've really done a great job on presentation and just the look and the feel of the website so far. Certainly on the back end, they've done everything we've asked and then some, and they really went above and beyond for this project. And they're passionate about and bullish on UFF Sports as well. They see the digital asset ownership with fantasy sports being a great connection and the potential. And they're all in on our project. So they're putting in a ton of time behind the scenes. Certainly built a terrific product with the back end and now onto the front end. So hopefully we're targeting sort of that February 1st or early February where the UFFS community will be able to log in as themselves as franchise owners, scouts, general managers, and get that hands-on experience, see what it's going to be like to be on our website, our platform. And then hopefully we'll work through the month of February if there's any kinks or bugs that we need to tweak, any tweaks we need to make. And then come March, hopefully we'll have the general public on there checking things out, buying franchises and scouting and everything else. It'll be very easy and user friendly. That's one thing that I think can't be stressed enough. Certainly with the back end, it's very easy and just very user friendly. So very impressed with the work the Zilliqa team's done. And I've certainly got to know my way around the back end now. And it's a quality product and I'm excited to continue working with it going forward.
Yeah, it's going to be very exciting. I've seen it. It looks fantastic. And cheers to the community members. It's always nice to have people in the community, within the UFFS community, willing to step up and help out when needed. So appreciate all the help on that. Also want to just maybe towards the end of this podcast, we should probably remind of important dates. Of course, we have the UFAHL draft coming up, and that's probably the most important one.
Yeah, that's the big one right now. All systems go. We're hammering out the roster sizes, the scoring system, scoring categories. I think we've got that all sort of in the process of being figured out. Then we need to sort of develop who the keepers are going to be as far as because a number of these AHLers or tweeners are already owned by UFHL franchises. So we just need to sort of get those keeper rosters in place going into the draft so we know how many spots they have to fill through the draft. But Saturday, January 30th. So essentially 2 weeks from now, 2 weekends from now, we'll be drafting the UFAHL, and then everybody will own, 26 more players through that league. So it's going to be a busy 2 weeks. It's a pretty tight time frame. We've got some affiliations to pair up yet. We might even have a UFAHL franchise for sale. in the coming days. There's one franchise owner who bought a franchise who's potentially selling or not completing payments. So we could have another UFHL franchise available as early as tomorrow if somebody's interested. But certainly that league's 31 franchises, same as the UFHL, same as the real world AHL. And we can't wait to draft those 31 franchises. Like I said, all the brands are coming together. Now we're going to get to see the rosters underneath the brands, and they're going to get their first experience, especially the new owners, their first experience with digital asset ownership. And they're looking forward to it. And we can't wait to host the UFHL draft on Saturday, January 30th.
Well, we already saw it, Fish, with the UFHL when we first launched about a year ago. Early in is the key, right? Prices are cheap, early in the UFHL as well. And I love the linkage with the UFHL franchises. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I think that's a wrap. I mean, this has been a longer podcast than usual, but we had some very special guests mixing music, talk of beer, and a great, country up and coming Canadian act. The Prairie States, I almost said it again. The Prairie States, not the Prairie States Band, as I have ingrained in my head. I think it was very exciting to have those guys on the podcast, and of course, their knowledge on the sports just made it a lot more fun.
Yeah, it was great to have the Prairie States a part of the show. Great to have Matthew Cardinal sing the national anthem to kind of kick off the UFHL season, the NHL season. Like I said, he said that was his first time singing the Canadian national anthem, or at least in a setting like this or for a hockey game. But he sounded great. He put his own spin on it. It was very well done. And like I said, Brett Kissel has some competition, or the Oilers have a backup guy if they want to bring in a country music act to sing the Canadian national anthem throughout this season. Robert Clark does a great job with their anthem usually, but Brett Kissel's sort of their celebrity anthem singer for the Oilers. And now we have Matthew Cardinal right there in line. So great job by Matthew. Great appearance by the Prairie States. Fun to talk some country music, some beer, and certainly lots of fantasy sports with those boys too. So enjoyed having them on the show.
Perfect. Well, that's a wrap on the UFFS podcast number 15, where you own the game.